the carrying capacity of the interceptor sewer. At the same time, I mentioned earlier that we would also be working through a few different development scenarios that would place different demands on that interceptor sewer, and then model those to see what other solutions may be available, and are they feasible, and if they're not affordable, how do we make them affordable? You know, I can't answer all of the what ifs at this point, but I think you have our assurance that we will look for all opportunities, and as Dave mentioned earlier, it's also an interdepartmental look. So we have the benefit of the eyes of community development, economic development, working with us along with the consultant.
Thank you. You've answered all my questions.
All right, before I start a second round of comments, let me remind the council we are 45 minutes from the end of our session by our own rules. So before we get there, I will stop to see if there's a move to extend the meeting tonight, and we still have 2 executive sessions left after that. So remind that we're going to be running up a piece, and we'll run that when we get there. Mr. DeMont, you had another question?
I just have a quick question. You brought up the comprehensive process, land use plan process that we're going through. Does that need to be paused in order for this study to finish for the Big Dry Creek Interceptor, or how does that play into effect with what we're doing? Because I've seen that question out there about how can we move forward with that if we have this looming over us.
I think the timing will mesh pretty well. Yes, we've started working on the comp plan update internally, but as I recall, the completion date isn't until well into 2019. So I think the time's good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ms. Pentry, you have another question?
Well, no, I just want to ask Mr. Mayor, were you asking for a motion? Would you like a motion to extend, or you want later?
Not yet, but I want to get to it.
I'm good then.
Just a reminder, as people want to continue to talk, we'll have to remind that we need to watch our clock. All right, any other comments or questions at this point? If there are none, then I will open the floor for a motion. Mr. Camera.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 27 as an emergency ordinance to enact a 12-month moratorium on the acceptance of new development applications that increase the sewer demand for projects that flow in the Big Dry Creek Interceptor sewer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Scully, thank you. Is there any other discussion or comments by council at this point? Ms. Bird, do you have another follow-up?
So I just wanted to make a comment. So this, I'm greatly disappointed that we're in this position, and I don't want anybody who's in our city to think that this council, at least not me, I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure I'll have others who echo this sentiment, that we're not closed for business. We are, well, speaking again for myself, I'm excited about the fact that businesses and individuals want to invest in our city. I think that's wonderful. That investment with it brings growth. First of all, it allows people to realize the value on their property, and I think that's important. If you own land in our city and you want to maximize your value on that, I think that's a great thing. But next, the other piece of that is the value for our citizens is that land, when put to its highest and greatest use, as the landowners would like to do, represents jobs and more home opportunities for our citizens. So all of that, our city needs to be in a position where we can be a responsible development partner with those who do business in our city. I want us to do right by you, and we need to have proper infrastructure to serve the work that you want to do. So I'm disappointed that we're here, but I want to be a solid partner with you. And I don't want to let our citizens down. I don't want to jeopardize current quality of life and water quality, sewer quality for people who have service. And I want to make sure that when you connect to our system with new development, that you're connecting into a first-class system. So it's for that reason that I'll be voting to support this, but know that I'm not voting with a view to oppose growth and development. It's a great opportunity for our city, and I know you're great partners of our city. You've done wonderful things with us. Many of you have contributed land. You've lived with us for years, and I know you have our best interests at heart. So we want to be there with you. And anyway, thank you for coming tonight, and I will be voting to support this, but it's with the view to be the partners you deserve.
Ms. Pinter.
Yeah, I felt the need to comment as well. Similar reasons to Councillor Byrd. Well said. I think that also one of the things that has become critically important is that we need to be fierce protectors of the public health and safety of our water and our sewer infrastructure, and that the water and the sewer infrastructure is actually a public health and a safety concern. And so thank you for being diligent with that. I would also encourage you to make sure, as you see those really innovative ideas, I love your offer to share every innovative idea, but what I really am going to be curious and needing to hear is that there's consistent effort and progress being made and a regular system for updates. So thank you for that.
Other comments from council? Ms. DeCambra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo my colleagues' comments. You know, I made the motion, so clearly I'm going to be supporting this ordinance. And, you know, I want to make sure that everybody in the audience knows that this was not an easy decision. We have been working diligently over the past few years to not only attract new businesses, but also to improve our processes to make sure that we have, you know, more transparent, easier to access, you know, development review processes, because we want to make sure that we're good partners. And I believe that it would be irresponsible in our end to continue business as usual. We do know now that we have something that could become a very big problem if we don't address it right now. And the last thing we would want to do is that we work with a developer on a project that then we realize we just don't have the capacity to serve. That being said, I want to make sure that everybody here knows, our residents and our development community, is that we have been working with staff over the past few weeks to make sure that we are as transparent and that we work with all of our partners through the process to make sure that we want to make sure that you don't leave. We want to make sure that you continue to work with us, because we know that for us to accomplish our vision and our goals, we need you to be our partner. So I know this is probably not the outcome that many of you were expecting, and trust me, it's not the one that at least I would have wanted, but I believe is the best course of action to make sure that we can continue to provide the core services that we need to provide to our residents.
Other comments from council? Sort of trying to bring this to a wrap. My caution to all of us is not to rush to judgment. We need to get the study done first. We need to understand the impacts from the study. And then we need to look at the design that comes out of that study before we start making commitment that we're going to throw money at something that we don't know what the problem is, nor the resolution, nor do we know the amount of money. Our intent as a city is to fix the problem as soon as we can, but we all understand we want to do this once, not be doing it again in 5 years. I think that's the important thing. I think the council has made a comment very clearly. We are open for business. We have some restrictions on where we can do some business in certain parts of the city, and we're trying to address those. But we don't know the full scope of the problem. We've in the past to fix what was the most immediate problem, and that was based upon limited time and resources is money. No city, no county has an unlimited amount of money they can spend. So we have to make choices, and sometimes those choices don't always turn out the way we'd like them, but we make them based upon the best money, best decision, best opportunity at that time. If anyone has a recommendation that they want to provide to the team that's working on how they think they could fix the problem, the team's willing to listen. But that doesn't mean we're going to take everything, because not everything is viable. It has to look at the bigger picture. And that's what's important for the staff right now, is to make sure we fully understand what really is the problem, how big is it, and how long do we think it'll take us to fix it. Once we know that, then we can start out a process to start to fund the projects, get them under contract, and get the construction work done. That's not going to happen in 12 months. We hope to have a very solid answer with some decent estimates within the 9 months that the staff has recommended. If we get it done sooner, we'll be doing something about it sooner. But we have to understand the scope of the problem first. This is can you get the screen back? Got nothing. Mine's blank. Okay, now I got it. All right, this will be a roll call vote, if you would, Ms. Parker.
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Let's vote. Unanimous vote for continuation of the staff proposed moratorium. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to item D. This is authorization to the city manager to determine the public interest to be served and authorizing the Utility Notification Center of Colorado for a total not to exceed $100,000. Mr. DeMott.
Mr. Mayor, I move based on recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will be best served by authorizing the sole source purchase with the Utility Notification Center of Colorado for the total cost not to exceed $100,000 in 2018.
Ms. Byrd?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. This is also a vote with your light, please. And the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Mr. DeMott, will you do the second part?
Mr. Mayor, I move based on upon recommendation of the city manager to determine the public interest will be best served by authorizing the sole source contract of locating services with Underground Consulting Solutions for locating city-owned underground utilities for the total cost not to exceed $100,000 in 2018.
And do I have a second on this one, Ms. Byrd? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, this will be a start with your buttons, please. And I'm waiting on one. Okay, got it. Okay, motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item up will be a recommendation for the city manager to determine best interest in ratifying a payment to Brandon Construction Group for emergency services. Ms. Byrd.
I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest would be best served by ratifying the payment of $231,447 to Brandon Construction Group for emergency reclaimed water transmission main line repairs and approve the total authorized expenditure of $231,447.
I have a motion, Mr. DeMont.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions by council? Seeing none, this is also going to be a vote with your lights. And the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item is F1. This is a reallocation of funding. Ms. Byrd.
I move to authorize the reallocation of $520,000 from project savings from the West 80th Avenue and Clay Street Lift Station Capital Project account and $680,000 from the Big Dry Creek Interceptor Sewer Condition Assessment account to a new Big Dry Creek Wastewater Interceptor Capital Project account.
Mr. DeMont.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion by council on this item?
No.
Seeing none, this is also a vote with your light. and you may start now. Okay, motion is carried on a 6-0 vote. Ms. Bird, would you finish that one, please?
I move to authorize the city manager to execute a sole source contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $1,200,000 to provide engineering pre-design for the Big Dry Creek Wastewater Interceptor Improvements Project.
Mr. Demont?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this by council? Okay. Seeing none, this will also be a vote with your lights. And the motion also carries on a 6-0 vote. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business of the City Council for the present time. As a reminder, there are still 2 items to be done in the post-meeting. Each of those are executive session. Mr. Frankel, that you have both of these. Give me an estimate of how much time you think you're going to need if we take a 5-minute pause.
15 minutes for each would be sufficient.
At this time, I would ask the council to present a motion to extend the time of the executive sessions and the council meeting by at least 30 minutes. Ms. Pinter?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to extend the council meetings to 11 p.m.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the council meeting will be extended till 11 p.m.
I'm going home.